Okay, I just finished The Stone Witch of Florence by Anna Rash, I think is how you say her name. This was so fun, and I loved it. It was about the plague. There was this woman she is considered a witch, but she's kind of a healer, but she uses magical stones kind of things. But she's, of course, been banished from Florence because she was a witch. And years later, they come to her and they're like, we need you to come and help us. Someone is stealing all of our religious relics, which that would be Saint someone's finger and so-and-so's head. And anyway, so she has to go and figure that out. And it's just weirdly funny at times. Like at this one point, she's trying to reach something in a church house behind something and she can't quite reach it. And so she yells to the guy that was with her, like, I need a long stick. And he brings her an arm because they're by a graveyard during the plague. So there's all these corpses everywhere. So he like brings her an arm and she's like, not using that. And he's like,
that's what I got.
This is what we got. And she's like, there's no sticks. And he's like, no sticks. And so she grabs the shoulder and she uses it anyways, but they do it in such, it's just way funnier, but also just delightful. She was such a great character. And there's additional, like just all of the characters. I just really, really liked it. It was lighthearted, historic.
Lighthearted plague book.
I know. And there were dead corpses everywhere and body parts. And they like stole Saint so-and-so's left buttocks. Anyway, it was fun. And the mystery was very satisfying. And I liked it. The Stone Witch of Florence.
Stone Witch of Florence.
That's cool. You?
I just finished this morning The Crossbow of Destiny by Brandon Huang. And it's kind of a fun one. There's this teenager who she was born in Vietnam, but then her mom brought her to the United States and they're going back to Vietnam to see her family, and it has all the legends of different Vietnamese legends, and it turns out they're true, and she has to save her family from the crossbow of doom and an evil descendant of an evil ancestor that's trying to get it so that he can destroy the world and control everything. So it's delightful. It was delightful.
Middle grade?
Middle grade.
I was going to say, it sounds like middle grade.
Yep.
There wasn't a boarding school.
There wasn't.
But
still middle
there was
grade.
a family in peril.
There was a family in peril,
cousins. If you have good supportive parents, probably something's going to happen to them that you're going to have to save them in a middle grade novel.
I mean, she was kidnapped in this one, so the parents weren't there.
Just there, yep.
There you go.
Convenient. I'm going to be honest. I'm in a lull. I am in a reading lull. Like, I'm like waiting for things to come on hold for me. And so like I've read some things. I read My Side of the Mountain.
It's a good one.
Yeah, which speaking of things that like super appeal to kids and then you read them as an adult and you go, well, survival story.
Yeah.
For sure.
Did you just read a John Green?
I did read the Anthropocene Reviewed. I did like that a lot. Yeah. I read that over the course of months though. Okay. So it's harder to feel like jazzed about it. If I'm 100% honest, what I have absolutely got hooked on is stupid. Love is Blind. And that's not a book at all.
No.
But if you like that, you might like, I don't know, another of a
book with 4 different love triangles. What were we just talking about? Oh, I don't know. Now I don't remember. It was something that you said you read book 1 and then book 2 had like 5 different love triangles or something.
Oh, The Black Witch.
Witch.
That's been years, but yes.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
That one's very good.
If you like.
No, we've talked about enough books. No book recommendation for me. I mean, My Side of the Mountain is good.
Sure.
If you like reading unrealistic stories about how a 12-year-old boy's family just lets him go live in the woods and he does it successfully. Makes a home in a sycamore tree and steals deer from hunters and makes himself a deerskin suit.
I know I've read that, but none of that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Anyway, let's talk about books that we would buy again or not throw away from the collection. Maybe. That seemed weirdly specific. What have you read lately?
I have read a book called All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. And more often than not, I honestly just pick up a book because someone said, it was good or I heard about it on a podcast. I have no idea what's in this book. And so I started listening to it, and it is about some kind of misfit kids. There's a girl and a boy, and they're friends in this kind of small town. But the little boy, who's probably like 12, sees a girl being attacked and like saves her, like goes after the guy, but gets kidnapped in the process. Ooh. And so he is taken away, and the whole town is, of course, looking for him. And his little friend is there, who's also like 12, and she's leading the charge. Like, she's like, we are going to find him. And the girl who was saved is like motivated. Anyways, this is like the first 3 chapters. Oh. And then like they're looking for him. But this book follows the lives of all of these people affected by this kind of very violent crime all the way through their lives. Like, it just follows them for like 30 years, probably longer than that. And I was telling my husband the storyline, and it just goes all over the place. But you see, how this one night, this like one thing impacts people and their trajectory. Thank you. That's the word, trajectory in life. And it was really, really good and intricately plotted enough that I had to go back a couple times and be like, who's that? What happened? It was so good. And it's all the colors of the dark because of this dark thing that happened, but it's very much, there's a lot of painting and art kind of tied into the whole story, and it's really beautiful. Cool. So there's that.
All the Colors of the Dark.
All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker.
Sounds good.
Mine was published a couple years ago, so forgive me for not having a
How dare
new
you?
one.
Mine was also published.
Oh, that makes me feel better.
You guys are weak. Okay, go ahead.
It's The Ride of Her Life by Elizabeth Letts, and it's a true story of a woman who in 1954, at the age of 62, lost her farm. She was living in Maine, times were hard for her, and she bought a horse with the last of her money and decided to go to California on her horse.
She wanted to live a Dust Bowl existence.
She wanted to get there, and she couldn't afford a car, I guess. And she had a dog, and the dog loved to ride up in the saddle with her, and they just started on their way. And luckily, someone from the Associated Press caught her after a week or two and took all sorts of pictures of her, and it aired nationally. It was in newspapers nationally at the time. So every town she went to, people were ready for her. They were waiting. They had dinner waiting. They wanted her to be in their parade and with her dog. And she made her way across America in this way. And I actually have a sister who's about to embark on a similar, she's not going to be on a horse. Too bad. She will be in a car, but she's about to go on this amazing cross-country trip. She'll be working remotely and, seeing amazing things in between. And it got me so excited for her trip. And now I want to get out of here too, So yeah, it was just hopeful, and it was uplifting. And, also the fact that she was 62,
because it feels like a time when you can't reinvent yourself. You can't have new adventures.
Exactly. And she did. And it was, what an adventure, so I loved it. I thought it was great.
How did you find that book?
We just got it as a book club set. If you're interested in that, if you think it might be good for your book club, that could be a good option too.
That sounds like something we should do in senior book club. I think
they would love it. Yes.
Tell Shayna. Okay, I just finished. Actually, literally just finished, because I had this book on hold for a long time, and then I listened to it, and then it was the holidays, and I didn't quite get through it, and it returned on overdrive when I had 22 minutes left.
That is the worst.
So then I put the hard copy on, and I looked to see if I put it on hold, it was another 4-month wait. But we don't really need to buy another copy. Whatever. I put the hard copy on hold, and it came in for me today, and I literally finished it right before coming in. So it's When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill, and it was excellent. It was so good. There were moments. So Kelly Barnhill mostly writes middle grade books. She wrote The Girl Who Drank the Moon, which won the Newbery a couple years ago. So a lot of middle grade fantasy. But this book started as a short story, but then grew as they often do. And it's interesting. So When Women Were Dragons is sort of historical fantasy about a time when across America, one day, a bunch of women turned into dragons, like 600,000 wives, mothers, workers. It was a simultaneous dragoning, and they all dragoned and then went away, and then the country had to sort of deal with the fallout, and then at some point they come back, but as dragons. And it's really interesting because she said it started as an exploration of feminine rage, and you definitely get that in the book. Like that part of the dragoning was women wanting to push against these boundaries that were being set upon them, these traditional gender roles or abusive relationships, inequitable work conditions, all of that. And it's just this like righteous, like, yeah. But then it becomes more than that. And so it's definitely a feminist book for sure. But I thought that was a really interesting way of exploring, like, and I don't know, there's something about that title, When Women Were Dragons. I'm like, we're dragons? I am a dragon. But yeah, just looking at all of those ramifications. And her writing is beautiful. If you're into an exploration of feminine rage, but also joy.
As a romance, or as a fantasy book.
As a historical fantasy that also includes McCarthy hearings. When Women Were Dragons. We'll let Mariah go first. Did you know we were going to ask you what you read?
No, but I can talk about it. I'm always ready.
Yeah, a library, ever ready.
My favorite book that I've read recently, I actually haven't finished. I'm in the middle of the Book of Doors. I can't even remember who the author is, but...
I literally just looked it up yesterday.
Yeah, you did. And my audiobook returned itself. And I know it was a good book because, like, I can't stop thinking about it. And I'm like, I have to know what happens next. So
she's put it on hold in all the formats.
Yeah. So whatever comes first, I'll read it and finish it. So hopefully it's a good ending because I actually don't know if it's good. But so far, it's really enjoyable.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You?
I just finished... I had her write it down for me. The Wedding People by Addysen Espach. Yeah. I think I described it to someone as a man called Ove. Uwe?
This is like a running thing on this podcast. This is probably at least the fourth time. Uwe.
Man called Uwe. Named? Okay, now I don't even know. Anyways. Only it's a romance, and it's this girl this woman, her husband cheats on her. She just finished a couple rounds of IVF that were unsuccessful. Things are not going well. She's in a depressed state and decides that she's done. But she wants to go out on a happy note. So she goes to this hotel that is like her dream. She's always wanted to go to this super fancy hotel. So she goes there. She takes her cat tranquilizers with her because she doesn't want to make a mess when she kills herself. And they book her a room, but they shouldn't have because the whole hotel, the whole resort is reserved for this really expensive 6-day wedding. And so 6-day wedding. That's what everyone there says too. 6-day wedding. Anyway, so she goes and she quickly becomes entangled in the drama of this wedding, and it is delightful. It was so cute. It was just, I loved the characters. They were extremely flawed and delightful, and it ended happy. And
I feel like I always love like loner finds community book.
Yes.
Like it's so.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this one just, the one I said previously that I'm going to say wrong again, so I'm not going to say the title, about the man.
Uwe.
Like there wasn't really any romance in it, but this has this like just delightful romance to it. That's
nice.
So cute, and it's chick lit.
Very good.
With
At
some
its
romance.
best.
At its best.
That's great.
There you go.
I just finished The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Allie Carter.
Sounds like a confession when you say it like that.
I just committed The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year. No, and even though like it's a Christmas book, and I read it in February. It did not need to be a Christmas book. I think it's just a Christmas book so that they can have that punny title. But I did not know that Row mystery was a genre, and now I want all of them. Like because it's a romance mystery, like a rom-com and a mystery. The banter is great, and it's like these writers are brought to this secluded English estate, and it's filled with people, and they're going to get snowed in, and then someone disappears, and so they're like, it's all of the locked room mystery kinds of things, but then there's like an enemies to lovers component, except also secret pining. Like, you didn't even know. And there's like twists and turns along the way, and it was just delightful. And now I've put several Ally Carter books on hold. I haven't read anything by Ally Carter before.
That was your first one?
That was my first one. Yeah, I know that a lot of people love the Gallagher Girls series and stuff, so that's probably going to be my next, like, let's read everything by this author, and then I'll rank them definitively.
Kind of a bingey reader.
I am a bingey reader. That is a good way to describe me.
It's not a bad reader to be.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll make myself a sticker.
Bingey reader.
Bingey reader. I'm a book binger. Cool. Should we talk about books?
Let's talk about some books.
Okay, what are you reading?
Or
what did you just finish?
No, I finished. It's called The 4 Red Sweaters. I don't think there's a "the." I think it's just called 4 Red Sweaters.
4 Red Sweaters.
Powerful True Stories of Women and the Holocaust by Lucy Adlington. I knew I wouldn't remember her name because it's nonfiction. I never remember authors unless they're like big. Anyway, so this was about women in the Holocaust, but kind of focusing on clothing and how that was a big part of things were going on. And it made me feel super spoiled because they talked about, like, back in the day, if your sweater started wearing out, like, you unwound it and you would knit it again into a different kind of sweater. And people would just buy clothing and wear it until it dies. And I have a closet full of clothes that I don't wear nearly to death. So anyways, but they had these 4 women who all had red sweaters or were connected to a red sweater. It's kind of how they tied them all together, but who were either like asked to knit in the concentration camps. There was one girl who went to England and had to leave her family back in Germany, and how she survived the Holocaust and her family maybe didn't. Like it was, I mean, it's Holocaust.
I didn't think it was going to be a happy book.
It's not necessarily a happy book. The one thing, I really, really liked it. The stories were great. I felt like all of the people that she was talking about, like you just felt for them, obviously. I did feel like the author tried really hard to convince me that the Holocaust was horrible. And I felt like I was convinced already. And so there were a few times where I'm like, yeah, I know. It was terrible. This is a bad thing. But it was her stories, the people that she found to write about, just I found really fascinating. And it was just kind of a different angle. I really liked it.
Another World War II book.
I know.
You always
There's
think.
so many. I always think I've read them all. And then I was like, no, this is a different viewpoint.
I just finished not a World War II book, though it does. The stone touches briefly in World War II.
Oh.
I just read at Carla's recommendation. Did you talk about this, The Glassmaker?
No, I think I might have.
I think you talked about it on here. I just read The Glassmaker by Tracy Chevalier, and it's about, would you believe it, a glassmaker. In, oh boy, Murano? I mean, it's Venice.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not Venice. It's like an island off Venice. But these families that make glass, and it's a weird framing device in the story that she's just like, time passes differently in Venice. So they're like skipping stones. And so you start in like 1400s, like they're talking about Columbus. They're talking about finding new trade routes and how that's going to impact them. And then they go through the plague, and then they touch down like World War I. I mean, So anyway, there will be just times in the story when they go, we're skipping again, and time has passed 50 years, and this character has aged 8 years, and you go, okay. It's kind of nice though, because you don't have to get to know, like, she can tell this sweeping story that's so much about globalization and industrialization and how that's changed so many
and
things.
women's roles.
Because the main character is a woman. But you don't have to get to know a new cast of characters every time, because I think that would be exhausting.
It is.
So that's cool. But I mean, I don't know. I already think that there are people who are alive that the world is so disorienting for. Like if you're born during the Great Depression, like thinking how much the world has changed even in that 100 years. And so to think about a character who was born
in 1400
in the 1400s and then is the final chapters are the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so like that's insane.
It is. I just like the full circle of plague to pandemic.
Kind of
It was
a thing. But I mean it was really cool.
Yeah.
And great writing, great characters. Love the main character and her struggles and her determination to keep her family together, and
it's good.
it was really good.
Really
The
good.
Glassmaker by Tracy Chevalier.
Sure.
Are we done talking about books, or do we want to talk about non-colorful books?
We could talk about non-colorful books.
What are you reading? I mean, you just finished.
I did finish just Everything is
Tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis, but I also just finished We All Live Here by Jojo Moyes,
Oh.
which I hadn't read. I didn't like her last one. I can't remember what it was, but I didn't love it as much. This one's actually fun. It's kind of a romance more, but there's a woman, her husband's left her to have a baby with someone else. She has 2 daughters. They're teenagers-ish. And then her mother has passed away, but her mother's husband, so like her stepfather, has moved in. And then her actual father, who is kind of a terrible person, but an actor that is out of work, also moves in. Oh. And her house is an old house that's falling apart. And she's supposed to write this book about how she's now divorced and her social life has just expanded and things keep going wrong. And it's just fun. I think summer read.
I mean, it sounds light and fluffy. Crumbling house, estranged father. It sounds like the stuff of summer read.
Yeah. All of the things are going wrong and she's trying to put her life together. But it's funny.
Okay.
When it's not happening to you. No, it was good. I liked it.
I think you and I have different ideas of what is a fun. Just kidding. I'm sure it is funny. I mean, I've read Jojo Moyes.
Yeah.
She is very funny.
Yeah.
Can be.
She can be. She can also make you cry.
Yeah.
This one did not make me cry.
Yeah.
This is not one of
Give
those.
Give her stars. Is that her?
No, You Before Me.
Well, yes.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure she wrote Give Her. I'm pretty sure she wrote a Pack Horse Librarian.
You're right. She did. She did write a Pack Horse. Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
That one didn't make me cry. I don't think. I mean, it's very sad the way they treated people.
Yes.
What are you reading?
I just finished. I don't know. Am I proud of it? I don't know. It's fine.
Own it.
I know. I just read Battle of the Bookstores by Allie Brady, which is I'm not ready for something that came out in my lifetime to be retold or adapted, but it's sort of an adaptation of You've Got Mail.
Okay.
So competing bookstore owners, there's a coffee shop in the middle. Their like landlord, who actually owns all the businesses, wants to tear down the walls but only keep one manager. So it's kind of like whichever bookstore has the better profits at the end of this quarter gets the job. And would you believe that it's a woman who owns one and a man who owns the other?
Are they not married? Are they single?
They are single.
And compatible to some degree?
Well, it's an enemies to lovers. I mean, they do try and collect the tropes. And at one point even like make a joke about it, like, oh, I'm not ready for an only one bed scenario. Because he runs a romance bookstore. She runs a more like literary fiction. She's the more buttoned up of the two. And, but they are also corresponding with each other on
book friends.
Something.
Goodreads,
Okay.
basically.
So,
So they don't know who each other are in real life.
I mean, You've Got Mayo was a remake
well,
of something
yes,
older. So this
I
is like a
know.
many generations remake.
Yeah.
I don't think you should feel bad about it. I don't think you should feel old. I don't think you should let it make you feel old.
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
But I mean, it was cute.
Good.
It was a romance. Yeah, funny. At times I did laugh out loud.
Excellent.
So there you go. Do we want to talk very quickly?
Talk very quickly about books.
We're going to talk very quickly about books. We gave ourselves a time limit, and our people have told us we're at that time limit.
That's true.
But we can't help ourselves. We're going to talk about books.
Okay. So I just finished a book called The Girl from Gwenwich Street by Lauren Willig, who she wrote the Pink Carnation books. If anyone knows those. And this is a historical
talked about
fiction.
those books
I
in our
did last
last-
time. Yeah, I did, because they were really good. This is historical fiction about Alexander Hamilton, Aaron Burr, and America's first murder trial. Like it was the very first one, and it was a young girl that was killed, and they thought by her fiance. Anyways, it turned into this whole, like it was really interesting. She's a really good writer. She does history really well. And it's a little part, it was kind of fun to have Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr
Together in a
together. Well, they were working together. They're not sure why actually they were working together on this murder trial, but they were, and they really hated each other.
yeah.
And like at one point, I don't want to ruin anything for anyone, but at one point, Alexander Hamilton's supposed to give the closing speech for the case, and Aaron Burr was going to do the opening one. Aaron Burr was giving the opening one, and Alexander Hamilton had shown his. And Aaron Burr gave the closing statement as the opening statement, just to make that is not true history. That is in this book, but it seemed true to the relationship. Anyways, that's mine. It was good.
I was going to ask, is it historical fiction?
It's
or is
historical
it- okay.
fiction, because there's a
Based-
lot not known, but
Okay.
she did a lot of studying, and she always does a lot of history when she does hers. So she's like, I've made it work into this story, and it felt true. And there were reasons why she did that from the historical record, but there's no proof. Like she kind of, that was her interpretation. Yeah. It was kind of fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you?
So I just finished reading a book called Whale Eyes. It's a nonfiction. It's about there are people who, as babies, don't have their when they're seeing, their brains don't connect the two vision into one vision, and so there's people that like you look at them and one eye will be looking at you and the other eye's like off, and then it will switch. So this eye will look at you and the other one's off, and it's a book about this guy James Robinson who wrote it, and how he was facing all kinds of things growing up because he has these eyes that are unusual, and he decided to start calling them whale eyes because nobody hates whales who can only see out of one eye at a time, but there's discrimination that happens for people. And then he ended up making a New York Times movie that you can Google on YouTube about his life or what it's like, and you can see and be like, oh, that's what it's like. No wonder he can't hit a t-ball as a child. Anyway, a fascinating nonfiction book called Whale Eyes.
Children's nonfiction or?
I read it on Libby. It's probably both, because it starts when he's a child, but then it goes till he's working for the New York Times. So
Cool.
it like spans all of the things. But I picked it up because I had seen a starter review about it somewhere in one of the things I've read.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Cool.
I just read The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown, and it's fantastic. It's about a girl who is given what she thinks is a blank notebook, but it turns out it's magical, and it can create, like, any door is every door. And so, like, if she imagines something, then when she opens the door, like Venice, like the when she first uses it, she walks from her apartment, opens her apartment door, and it's Venice outside that she has.
Okay.
And it gets insane. Like, it is so good. It is a ride because it ends up, well, I don't want to spoil it, actually. But there's more than just her magical book. There's more magical books, and there's this whole society. And yeah, it is like a crazy ride through space and time. And I loved just like literally every second of it. It was so good.
The Book of Doors, Gareth Brown.
Okay.
So there we go. Sometimes your fiascos are hilarious, and thanks for sticking with them, us for all of them. We'll see you next time.